Welcome back to Hardball, where Republicans smell blood in the water on Ebola, certainly, especially those eyeing 2016 for president, like Jeb Bush and Mitt Romney. The far right of the Republican Party, people like Steve King of Iowa, are getting to get control of the Senate for their party and increase their margins in the House. And what are they promising? I think it's fair to say ideological warfare for 2 more years. Plus, a senior administration official says tough things to a reporter about Prime Minister of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu. He's a tough guy to start with. Anyway, the roundtable tonight, NBC's chief foreign affairs correspondent and host of Andrea Mitchell Reports, my friend Andrea Mitchell.
Hi.
And the editor-in-chief of Roll Call, Christina Bellantoni, and the author, P.J. O'Rourke, his new book, The Baby Boom, in paperback. There it is. Actually in paperback, right?
I don't know. They don't tell me anything.
Oh, you're just playing hard to get. You love the money.
Still get it in
you love the
hardback.
celebrity and the money. As we showed you earlier, this is my favorite quote of the week. Christie unloaded on some guy, some protester who dared to hold up a sign at a press conference. This is Sinatra country in the old days. Let's watch.
I'll be more than happy to have a debate with you anytime you like, Guy, because somebody like you who doesn't know a damn thing about what you're talking about except to stand up and show off when the cameras are here. I've been here when the cameras aren't here, buddy, and done the work. I've been here when the cameras weren't here and did the work. So I'm glad you had your day to show off, but we're the ones who are here to actually do the work. So turn around, get your 15 minutes of fame, and then maybe take your jacket off, roll up your sleeves, and do something for the people of this state. So listen, you want to have the conversation later? I'm happy to have it, buddy. But until that time, sit down and shut up.
He keeps calling
Andrea, you spent many years in Philadelphia, in the South Jersey area as well. This manner, it's when you get approached by some Eagles fan in the parking lot, you know?
Buddy, sit down and shut up. I mean, he's showing his feistiness, and he's taken the president on Ebola, and I think that's deliberate.
That guy put his sign up. That's all he did.
And that was about Sandy. That wasn't even
What was
about
the
Ebola.
sign about? It was
Something about
not having,
he didn't get his money for Sandy or something.
Yeah, not having fixed things for Sandy. But I'm not sure how this plays in the Republican Party. And as you see, Jeb Bush
plays with this Republican, you know.
You want to talk on this?
Yeah, come on, America's ready for a sit down and shut up president.
But in Iowa, I mean, you know, Casey was right. The Iowa nice here. I mean, there are a lot of people who will protest, and if you shout them down, this is your neighbor that you're shouting down. Like, I don't think people are going to like that.
But how do they vote?
Well,
Do they vote with him?
Yeah, they vote with me.
They say they don't like it. They don't like arguing on television. So they like Sunday morning when it's quiet and genteel.
Yeah. And
But
then
then you
they
see,
watch.
and
What
then
do
they
they
drive by a
watch?
traffic accident and they're craning their necks out the window to see what just happened.
Yeah, because what they actually watch is the Pitbull channel.
Which one's that?
Dog fights.
Oh, no, that's not.
Any number of them.
Anyway,
consistently
Steve King of Iowa, speaking of Iowa, the guy who says the Hispanics come across the border with the calves the size of cantaloupes because they're carrying so much dope, or yes. He admitted, by the way, he said there's going to be some real governing. No, that's an afterthought. He said it's not so much about what could be passed, but setting the agenda and debate for the next presidential race. That's what he said it's all about. Don't do anything. Just get the fight started.
But what really strikes me is that what Chuck Todd and others, Casey, who've been out there this last couple of weeks, people want to get things done. They are sick of the gridlock. They're angry at the Democrats. They're certainly angry at the White House, but they're not yet sold on many of the Republicans because they want to sort of throw all the bums out, just to paraphrase. And that kind of talk isn't going to appeal to those people. I don't think. I think that people will want someone in the Republican side like Mitt Romney, even Jeb Bush, someone who wants to get things done, and they're not going to want more gridlock in Congress.
And good luck to that Republican presidential nominee ultimately in June in 2016 who's going to be able to marshal a Republican Senate and a Republican House. That's going to be really hard to get one
If I were the chief
cohesive
Republican
message.
strategist, what I would be doing right now is trying to lose the House. And the Senate.
Exactly.
And then
just
blame it all.
Blame it all on the Democrats, you know.
Well, let's ask a question we hate to admit. Next Tuesday, so what? The Democrats can't rule because they don't have 60 votes in the Senate. Republicans will come in, maybe they'll get 52 votes, 53 at the big night. They may go to 55, who knows? But you know what? They won't have 60.
No.
Not by a lot.
So what's going to happen when they get control?
Exactly what's happened over the past 2 years. This is strictly a throw the bums out election. This is not an ideological shift.
I think
like
you're
you might
right,
have
except
seen during
the
Reagan
president.
years.
They don't like the president.
But the
don't
Hillary
like the
Clinton could be the
president.
big winner under one scenario if the Republicans take both houses and the Steve King's rule rather than those who want to get something done. If there's total
But the
gridlock,
president.
I will make my strongest case for Hillary right now. All right?
Okay.
And I've been an uneven warrior.
All right, yes.
I think you're dead right. I think you're right. You're wrong. I think the country is sick of squat. They're sick of turning on the news religiously to find out what got done and learning nothing got done. They want a deal maker. And maybe a woman generally might be better at deal making because they do spend a lot of time building consensus more than we do. We're all John Wayne. Who's the boss here?
Yeah.
Women, I think, my wife taught me all this in corporate life.
Yeah.
They sit down and they try to figure it out.
Yeah.
They try to get something damn done. They got to get it done. And Hillary would look to me like a pro. She's not a visionary necessarily, but I think she can get along with John McCain. She can get along with, Lindsey Graham.
She knows how to pull together a coalition.
That's right.
She also knows every single.
That's what the country
person on
wants. She's
Capitol Hill
perfect for this.
Still, when I get some time to think later this year, I'm going to be thinking, no Bush, no Clinton.
That's another whole
Well,
story.
anyway,
Moving
how
on.
bad? Somebody said Luke Russell will be covering the campaign between Bush and Clinton. What a perfect continuation of the traditions of our country and politics. Anyway, how bad are relations between the White House and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu? Take a look at this quote attributed to, quote, a senior Obama administration official, close quote. This person told journalist Jeffrey Goldberg, who is a sound journalist, quote, the thing about Bibi is he's a chicken. Well, you know the rest of that is a bad word. Well, you know what I has to say there. This person went on to say, the good thing about Netanyahu is that he's scared to launch wars. The bad thing about him is that he won't do anything to reach an accommodation with the Palestinians or with the Sunni Arab states. And the only thing he's interested in is protecting himself from political defeat. He's not Yitzhak Rabin. He's not Ariel Sharon. And he's certainly not Menachem Begin. He's got no guts. The reaction from both here in Israel was swift. Today, White House spokesman Josh Earnest disavowed the comments. Here he is.
Those comments do not reflect the United States' position, and they do not reflect the personal views of the President of the United States. This is a critically important relationship. The United States is as committed as it has ever been to the security of Israel.
You know, the enemies of the president would like to,
Right.
the president was the enemies of the president, political partisan enemies, and I understand the game they're playing, find out who did it. Now, the question I have is, doesn't this in effect really, without using the harsh words about chicken stuff, doesn't this reflect the attitude of this administration towards Netanyahu?
And
right or
vice
wrong.
versa, and vice versa.
Yeah.
That's the point. I've heard similar things, not quite as barnyard epithets, but I have heard the same kind of language. Jeffrey Goldberg is right on. I know that he's solid
How's it different on the
this.
record?
And by the way, nobody is denying that it was said. Look, the last time Netanyahu met with Barack Obama, it was after Gaza and after settlements had been announced. It was October 1st. I saw Netanyahu a couple of hours later. He left the White House, and both the State Department and White House spokespeople both denounced Netanyahu, called what he had done poisonous on settlements. And when I said to him, how's it feel? You walk out of the White House, and this is what they're saying. They're denouncing you within a half hour. He said, it doesn't feel good.
Well, yeah, but you were trying to get a quote out of him. But the fact is,
line,
he's the one who announced the 1,000 settlements.
Exactly.
He stuck it in the eye of this administration and all previous administrations on putting more settlements into the West Bank. He knows what he's doing.
And his own defense secretary said that John Kerry was maniacal and obsessive by trying to pursue the peace talks. So they're both.
We know John Kerry pretty well. I wouldn't say he's maniacal. Waspy, maybe sometimes. I wouldn't call him maniacal. He's so calm and formal.
Waspy, stupid focus. They
No,
get on an idea.
I think they think he's too tough on them, clearly.
Well, and no doubt that the White
And
House
that's his job.
frustrated with what's been happening, and the Republicans just zoom right in on this. You can always tell when they know they have something, when they issue all of these
The
statements.
trouble with this
going
is
after
it's
him.
not just kids or brothers fighting with each other and allies fighting with each other. If Netanyahu doesn't want to deal with Iran, what does he want?
That is definitely a better question for these experts. I don't know.
What is the alternative to some kind of a living together with Iran, war with Iran? With Hezbollah, Nasrallah unleashing every rocket he's got on Israel, on Tel Aviv. Once we attack or Israel attacks, we have no idea what comes next.
Right. And about
Netanyahu
the Middle East, you never say it can't get worse.
Yes.
It always looks like it can't get worse, but it can get worse.
War with a
Netanyahu
real country.
Has told people in his cabinet that he's written off Barack Obama. You saw Reince Priebus and others, John Boehner, denouncing what was in Jeff Goldberg's piece, which was, as I say, not denied by
You
anyone in the
mean
White
the
House.
courageous Reince Priebus? The guy who spends
look,
most of his time
I'm just saying that the
repressing the
Republicans
black vote. Anyway, that's what he
Republicans
does.
see a campaign issue here.
I know, of course they do. It's an open opportunity. He put his chin out. And by the way, this kid, whoever talked to this reporter, thought on background meant deep background. It wasn't deep background. Administration source. Anyway, the roundtable's coming back. When we return, today's memorial for the great Benjamin Bradley. It was quite an event here in Washington. I was there. Andy was there. This is Hardball, the place for politics. We're back with the roundtable tonight. Andrew Mitchell and Christina Bellantoni. I hate making mistakes like that. P.J. O'Rourke, my friend forever. Earlier today, friends and family said goodbye to a giant in journalism, Benjamin Bradley, the legendary editor of the Washington Post, who died last week at the age of 93. Bradley transformed the Washington Post, as everyone knows, into one of the country's top newspapers and inspired a generation of journalists. Famed reporters Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein paid tribute to their old boss today. Here he is. Here they are.
What is the central part of his character? The part of him that was different? It's this: he was not afraid.
Psychologically, Ben's passing is, in some respects, and in some very clear ways, marks the end of the 20th century.
Well, Bradley's youngest son, Quinn, who I know, delivered an emotional eulogy to his dad. Here he is.
Everyone who ever met him wanted more of him. They wanted to be his best friend. They wanted to please him. My father was the most confident man I ever met. He would never brag. He didn't need to build himself up. In fact, his instinct was to play himself down. People talk a lot about his colorful language, but in my opinion, he also had the most colorful heart.
Well, I can't say it better. I tell you, the guy was loved in this city, and he had the guts to go after big shots. And he was, he once said to me when he was celebrated as Jack Kennedy's best friend, you know what he said to me one time? He said, I have no idea what he thought of me. He was honest. Yeah. He didn't brag.
They actually lived next door to each other before he was Jack Kennedy, when he was senator.
But he didn't build it up.
I loved the fact, all of the tributes today were so telling. Quinn's best of all, of course, the emotional connection there. David Ignatius.
That was the best.
David Ignatius said that he combined the qualities from Casablanca of Victor Laszlo, the wonderful, fighter, resistance fighter, and Mr. Rick in the white suit.
That was the swaggering nightclub guy, the cynical guy, and the idealist. And he was both the tough guy and the good guy.
And I never got a chance to work with him, but I know so many people who have, and they find him just this beloved character. And I love that he set such a good example for what you should be as a journalist, not just a political journalist. Holding power to account, making sure that people understand that if they're beholden to taxpayers, they need to answer questions from you. And that's just such a great standard for all of us to live by.
He's unusual in the fact that, like most Washingtoners, we're all joiners. He didn't join nobody at anything. He never went to Gridiron. He never went anywhere. Never joined any club, including Metropolitan Club. Yeah. Never felt he needed to be part of some organization to be a person.
Well, I too was charmed by the man, but.
Go ahead, put your butt in.
Yeah, I know.
This is hardball.
I have to be Banquo's ghost here, but I think he failed to do a couple of things. Well, one thing.
You got time for one.
Okay. To position the Washington Post as a brand, the way the Wall Street Journal, when all this began to come apart, Wall Street Journal fixed on business. The New York Times was a little slow to pick it up, but they fixed on national and international news. The Post was there to be the brand covering politics, more inside information, more inside connection. And they hadn't really aligned the Post, so the Post was able to take care of that. And so.
Well, they got the money now. Watch them come back with Jeff Bezos. They're hiring.
Hope so.
You got to go.
I just think the most courage of all.
I agree. He had so much guts. Anyway, love that guy. Anyway, Andrew Mitchell, Christina Bellantoni, and PJ Bellantoni, right? I love that name. Bellantoni. PJ O'Rourke is more familiar. We'll be right back after this.